Hi and welcome back to the Build Your Custom Website course. My name's Dan. I'm a software engineer and systems analyst with WP Update, and I'll be looking after you today. In today's session, we're going to be doing a couple of things. Firstly, we'll be preventing search engines from accessing our beta site. That's our pre-launch site. We'll be configuring the URL structure and settings for WordPress, and we'll be installing the base website artwork ready for session 3. Today's requirements are fairly straightforward. You'll just need a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. So you may have noticed last session we installed WordPress. And I wanted to quickly address why we went with WordPress as opposed to one of the managed free online services. So let's do a quick comparison. The free services are absolutely fantastic, but there are a couple of limitations with them. The first, of course, is that you only have limited control over your artwork. Whereas with the custom WordPress site, you've got thousands of different themes, and with a bit of PHP knowledge, you can completely customize them, or you can hire someone to do it for you. There's only limited or restricted components within the free websites as well. They give you a set of tools that you can use, and they are the only tools that you can use. Whereas with WordPress, it's almost infinitely extendable. You can add plugins, you can add functionality, you can add add-ons, you can extend just about any component of WordPress to turn it into more than it is when you started. There can be locked or limited e-commerce options with the free ones, where they will give you a type of product or an item that you have to use, as in, it needs to be a single product. You can't do a variation, say colors on t-shirts, for example. Whereas with custom WordPress, there are dozens of free e-commerce plugins and extensions that allow you to do just about anything. We touch on that in the masterclass a little bit later on. With the free ones, you rarely can customize or extend the functionality within their framework, as opposed to WordPress. You can hire a programmer to customize just about any aspect of your website and extend it to do just about anything you like. With the free versions, they're quite hard to migrate as well. So if you're on a prominent platform that gets advertised a lot on YouTube, and you decide that you no longer want to be with that platform, they have complete control over your site. You cannot, with any deal of ease, move from one host to another. Whereas WordPress is very, very easy to migrate. It's portable. So if you decide you don't like SiteGround anymore and move to HostGator or GoDaddy, it's a fairly straightforward process to do that. You don't have to be locked into a single host if you're not happy. So what we're going to be looking at mainly is the permalink. The permalink is the structure of your URL or the web address of the individual pages on your website. They have a surprising impact on search engine optimization and a really big impact on clickability. So let's just quickly look at an example here. So a default out-of-the-box WordPress page will have a URL of $page_ID and then a number. With a permalink structure correctly set up, we can change that to /blog/top 10 pizzas in Italy, for example. And you can already see straight away that that's a little bit more clickable. It's a little bit more friendly. But let's take a look at what it will look like in, say, a Google search result. So if we have a look at the first one, top 10 pizzas in Italy, from the example travel blog here, you can see there the little green text allows you to see what the URL is. And it's not terribly pretty. You can tell it's not been set up well. Whereas if we tweak that, that suddenly becomes a lot nicer. And Google, in fact, recognizes the hierarchical structure of the URL there and then puts little markers in there, I suppose you'd call them, as opposed to just the dashes, which makes it a little bit more professional and a lot more clickable. One other thing to consider there as well is the second URL, you'll notice, has some really, really nice keywords in there as well. So that will cover you for a top 10 list, and that will cover you for pizzas and Italian pizzas, as opposed to just a simple 1, 2, 6, 5. So again, super simple to set up, but a massive impact on the way your site appears and potentially can rank on Google. So let's get set up. If you get to your website and you see this type of error, that means that there is a bit of a problem with the domain registration. And what you'll need to do is contact SITEGROUND support. There is a link in the description below on how to do that and what to say. If you see this page when you try to visit your website, or a similar page if you're using Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari, it means the security certificate hasn't been installed correctly. It's a fairly easy fix. All you'll need to do is contact SITEGROUND support, and there is a link in the description below on how to get there and what to say. All right. But in the meantime, if you do see this error, that's okay. Just make sure that you are 100% sure that that is your website address that we registered last time. Click on Advanced, and then click Accept the risk and continue. Okay, so let's bring up a browser, and we're going to navigate to our website. So if you recall from last time, the URL you entered, the domain you registered. And what we want to do is type in HTTPS, and that part is very important, :// and then your domain. So in our case, it was error 418.coffee, put the dot in there. And you should see something like this. Okay, so let's assume that everything's gone correctly and you can see the website. You will see the My WordPress, just another WordPress site, and the very, very base theme. So what we're going to do now is go right up to the top to the URL bar, and we're going to type in /WP-login, LOGIN.php. So that's wp-login.php. Move that out of the way. And then we're going to hit enter, and that will take you to the WordPress login page. So if you recall from last time, we had a login sent to us from SITEGROUND. So just put in your email address there, and then enter the password you would have entered when you set up the account. And don't forget down here, there's a lost your password if you get stuck as well. And there we go, there's our WordPress starter. So we're just going to exit the wizard. We're not going to worry about that at the moment. So just click the exit button down the bottom. And now we are in our WordPress control panel, or the WordPress dashboard. Let me go full screen, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can see things a little bit easier. All right, so for today's exercise, as I mentioned before, we're looking at setting up permalinks, blocking search engines from seeing our beta site or our pre-launch site, and going through the general settings for WordPress. So what we're going to start with over here is going to settings and then going to general. We want to add your site title in here. So this is the name of your business or the name of your site, and it will appear in search engines. So in our case, we're going to be error 418. And the tagline is a secondary catchphrase that you can use for your site and that appears in search engine results on pages that aren't necessarily super optimized for search engine optimization. So for us, it's going to be resources. The next thing we're going to do is go down to the WordPress address URL, and we're going to take the HTTP there and then stick a little S in there. So you should end up with HTTPS:/ and then the domain you registered. And what that's going to do is that's going to force new visitors into the site onto the secure version. There's two advantages to that. Firstly, it's encrypted end-to-end. So that means that it protects people who are visiting your site from a thing called a man-in-the-middle attack. And also very, very handy for Google. They really like a good security certificate setup rather than insecure standard HTTP websites. So we'll do that for the WordPress address URL and the site address. The next thing is your email. We just want to make sure that that is okay. And that can stay as your personal email for the moment. But before we launch, we'll set that up to be the email address we registered in the last video. Now, we don't need to worry about membership or user roles right now. We just make sure that is unchecked. The subscriber role doesn't matter at all. Set the site language to whatever you prefer. So we're going to be operating largely in the UK. So we'll go with English UK. But you can see there are several other languages available, and you can set it up to whatever you prefer or whatever your target market will need. Don't worry too much about the date and time format. And for us, the week will start on Monday. So once you're happy with your settings there, and again, feel free to pause the video and just have a bit of a think if you'd like to put a bit more time into that. But once you're happy, scroll down to the bottom and hit Save Changes. Now, because we changed to HTTPS, we got booted back out of the site, so we'll need to log in again. And once we're in, those settings will be saved. Okay, so we'll skip the writing part. We'll deal with that a little bit later, and then go straight to reading. Now, this is for the blog management part of the site. We won't need to worry about most of this for this course. What we do want to do, though, is set the search engine visibility. So we want to just check that, make sure it's set to discourage search engines from indexing this site. And what that does is that asks Google, Bing, Yahoo, Yandex, and dozens of other sites not to index this, which helps us, gives us time to build the site out without having to worry about people seeing it a little bit early. So once that's been checked, hit save. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is head over to the discussion tab. Now, this looks after how people interact with blog posts and with pages on your site. So we're going to, under default post settings, here we're just going to uncheck those first three. And what that does is that prevents people spamming us with comments and pingbacks for other sites. So scroll all the way down and then save changes. All right, changes saved. The next thing we're going to head to is the permalinks setting. Okay, so if you recall back at the start of the lesson, we were looking at different permalinks and different structures for URLs. So I've found the most effective one to be the custom structure. What we're going to do is just click on custom structure there, delete the contents of that, and then add a category and then a post name. And that gives that canonical or hierarchical URL structure and allows us to put some really nice keywords in the URLs, which Google and Bing likes a lot. We're going to scroll down to the save changes. And there we go. That's the permalink structures updated. And privacy we're going to worry about just a little bit later on in the course. What we're going to do next is from the permalink settings, we're going to mouse over appearance and then go to themes. You'll see we already have some pre-installed ones there, but I'm not a big fan of them. They tend to be very standard and lots of people use them. So what we're going to do is install a new theme from the WordPress theme library. So top left, click Add New. You can see we get a whole heap of themes available to us, and there are literally tens of thousands of themes. But we're going to use a very popular theme with a very popular customizable web builder to make this site as easy as possible to manage. So in the search themes up the top right there, I would like you to type Zita, Z-I-T-A. And we will look for the first result there, which is Zita itself. It's presently got the blue with the fellow that looks like Marshall from How I Met Your Mother. And then click on Install. That will just take a few moments to install. And then once that's done, we're going to click Activate. All right, so that is now our base theme installed. And because we don't want any of this stuff here, I'd like to clean up afterwards. So we click on Theme Details as we mouse over, say, 2019. And then on the right-hand side, Delete. And then OK. All right, and we'll do that for all of the themes that we're not using. So 2017, Delete, OK. And then again for the 2020, Delete, and OK. And if you have any other themes in there, do the same thing until you get presented with just this big fat Zita theme block. All right, cool. So we'll close that off. Okay, so what I really like about Zita is that it has a whole heap of pre-built imports that we can use to customize our site straight out of the box. So to install one of those, what we want to do is go over to the left again to Zita Options, which is just under background there. And then we've got the Import Starter site on the left-hand side, and that asks you to install the importer plugin. So we'll click on that one, and that will just take a few moments to go through. All right, so once that's done, you'll see the See Library button in the same spot as before. Click on that one. And again, if I'm going a bit quick, feel free to pause, go back. More than happy to wait for you. All right, so because we're on a budget and we want to use a decent theme builder, which allows us to drag and drop components on, around the website, what we're going to do is start by filtering the builders down to Elementor. All right, once that's finished loading, we then want to go to the free ones. You can spend some extra money and go pro if you like. In my opinion, for most people, it's not worth the effort or worth the funds. So we can see here we have about 10 or 12 different options that we can go with for your site. And you can pick absolutely any one of these you like, and it will work with the rest of the course. It will work with your site. And the great thing about this kind of stuff is that if you don't like it later, it's fairly straightforward to change. So have a good look through. What I'd encourage you to do is mouse over something you like the look of and click the preview button. And that will show you what it looks like as a site. So if you like the theme, that's great. Just hit install and install. If you're not a fan, close that out and then go and have a look at another one. And keep going through the themes and really, really take some time with this because it is quite important. But make sure you're happy with the components you see on screen, with the layout, with the backgrounds. Because even though they're customizable, the less we can play with it, the easier it's going to be for us and the quicker we'll get this out. So I spotted a really nice, luscious, dark looking one down the bottom called the Wine. There we go. Johnny Winery. Now, because I'm going for rich colors and I'm going for dark and luxurious feel for the site, I'm going to use this one because, you know, coffee. So I'll click on that. I'm very, very happy with the layout for this one and what it does. I think it's just nice. I like the transitions. I like the backgrounds as well, but we will change those a little bit later too. All right, so once you're happy with the theme you've chosen, click the Install Plugins button on the top left, or
the one down here. Doesn't matter, does the same thing. All right, and you can see there it's starting to light up the different contact service, the different plugins that we need to extend WordPress to make it compatible with this theme. So that's Elementor's done. It's now installing WooCommerce. We won't worry about WooCommerce too much at this point. We do cover it quite extensively in the masterclass, but right now it's just a thing that we need to install. Okay, so once that's completed, you'll notice the button changed to import this site. So click on that one next. Make sure you have a quick read of that and you're happy, and then hit OK. And you'll see there it's starting to import the site and import the pages and any media it needs. It's worth noting as well, this media is not licensed, so you will need to replace it with your own photos or with photos that we source from a royalty-free or stock photo service, which we'll go through in another class. So that's now just importing the last of it, and that is done. So now we can click Done, View Site. Now, because we're only using the main page at the moment and we don't have products and we don't necessarily have a map organized, what we're going to do is quickly customize this to delete those components. So we'll close that, go back to the main service there, and then go to Pages on the left-hand side. You can see it's installed some pages of its own, but the main one we're looking at is Wine Shop Home. So you'll see a marker that's marked front page, and it will also have Elementor. It might be marked as home page, it might be marked as home or welcome, but something front page-ish, and then Elementor. So once you've found that one, click the Edit with Elementor link, I suppose you'd call it. If you get a prompt like this, that's okay. Just hit Got It. We don't need to worry about that right now. And now we're presented with a zoned, blocked version of the web page that we were looking at before. Now, each one of these little zones, each one of these blue squares that pop up when you mouse over is an editable region of the site. So what we're going to do to start with, if you have this on the front page, and you don't necessarily have to have it, but it might be there, is find the shop block. Now, as I mentioned before, we don't have WooCommerce at the moment. We're not worrying about the e-commerce side of things in this course, although we do cover it in the masterclass. So what we're going to do is just mouse over and then on the blue tab, top right, delete section. And that's deleted that block. Scroll down again. And for the map, we're going to not worry about that for the moment again. So we will just mouse over and then delete that section as well. Okay, so that's those two sections deleted. Back over to the Elementor control panel here and then hit Update. Okay, so that is done. Using the little hamburger menu on the left-hand side, click, and then we can view the page. And we can see there, the shop has been removed and the map has been removed, so we don't need to worry about those anymore. Right, now once you're here, you can either go back and edit the page a bit more by using the Edit with Elementor, or you can head back into the dashboard by mousing over the name of your site there and then clicking Dashboard. Okay, big day, and that is it for this lesson. So to summarize today's session, we have looked at any potential problems with your domain and SSL certificate. And again, a quick reminder that there is information in the description below on where to find help to get that resolved. We've set up a permalink structure to give us the best possible chance of having a nice clickable link when we get searched on Google and on Bing.
And we've also asked Google and Bing to hold off indexing our site so that no one can find it while it's in beta. We've added a base theme to the site and then cleaned up any unnecessary themes to make sure that we don't have unnecessary clutter and files on the site. Imported a starter theme and did our very first bit of customization. So nice work. That's pretty cool. Not bad for a short session. And that's it for this session. So thank you very much for sticking it out all the way to the end. In the next session, we'll be further customizing the homepage. We'll be adding a logo, adding some stock images and telling you how to source stock images if you don't have your own, as well as tweaking the text and making the homepage a bit more your homepage and a bit less templatey. Before you start the next session, please grab a pen and paper and jot down your top 5 things or top 5 products that you offer for your clients, and we'll use that as the basis to build out some of the content in the next session. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next lesson.